Welcome to the 99 World Artists competition. And we're here to select 2 artists to represent the UK. This contest is the first of its kind. Usually art contests are backroom affairs with judges poring over the artwork. We hope to be more open, and this contest is about the artists presenting their work to the public. We've shortlisted 20 contestants from nearly 200 entries. And as you would expect, the artwork we've received has been exceptional. We're now on a journey to find 5 finalists who will go to the finals on Valentine's Day. Without further ado, let me introduce you to our judges today. First of all, we have Sujata Bajaj, who's trained as an artist in India and France. She's worked in a whole array of mediums, from sculpture to murals, as well as ceramics and metal. And if you look very carefully at her work, you'll see the French and Indian influences. Sujata joins us from Paris today. Sujata, can I ask you, what will you be looking for in the artist's work?
I couldn't hear you, please.
What will you be looking for in the artist's work?
The originality.
Fantastic, thank you.
Something which is their own language. I think that is, for me, the most important.
Brilliant. Well, we look forward to your comments later in the competition. Our next judge is Reverend Dr. Richard Davey, who's a well-known authority in art, writing numerous books for the Royal Academy of Arts in London. He is currently the Senior Research Fellow in Historical and Critical Studies at Nottingham Trent University. And if that wasn't enough, he's also currently writing books on artists Ed Moses, Stephen Chambers, and Leonard McComb. Richard, what will you be looking for?
I'm going to be looking for work that surprises me, that intrigues me, that mystifies me. I'm not so much interested in does it look like the world, because a photograph can do that. What I'm looking at for is the work, the paintings that make me see the world differently, that ask me to see the world differently. So that's what I'm looking for.
Fantastic. Our final judge today is Geeta Sridhar, a professional dancer, performer, and choreographer with a career spanning over 30 years. She specializes in South Indian classical form of dance, Bharatanatyam, and Geeta has also been a judging panelist and mentor for the BBC4 television program BBC Young Dancer. Geeta, what will you be looking for in particular?
I'm looking for absolutely anything that is unique, something that brings a smile to my face. To be serious, I would like some emotional experience that reflects on their work, certain state of mind that one can decipher even without being introduced to the painting. So yeah, I'm looking to have some fun today.
Excellent, excellent. Now let's have a quick reminder of the ground rules. Each artist will have 3 minutes to present their artwork. At the end of the presentations, there'll be a short time for the judges' comments. If you in the audience have any questions or comments, do use the chat box in the Zoom. And if you have a question during the break, please raise your hand by clicking the hand button on Zoom. You may well be selected and asked to join us. At the end of the contest, there will be a poll for you to choose one of the artists who should go to the final round. This poll is a preliminary opinion survey. After the event, you will be invited to vote on our website to pick your favorite artist. A reminder of that website address is www.99worldartist.com. I'm now delighted to introduce the artists, and they will talk about their work. The judges will then, of course, have a couple of minutes to respond. And so I think let's kick off with our first artist now. Our first contestant is Rajan Dey, an electrical engineer and artist. Now, these two may not always go well together, but somehow Rajan has made it work. I hope he can tell us a bit more. Rajan.
Yeah, hello. Am I audible?
You are.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, hi. Hello and good afternoon. I would like to first start with thanking everyone who has liked my artwork and voted for me and other participants. I'm really privileged and lucky to be one of the top 20 artists and for being here in front of you all today. About myself, I'm an engineer by qualification, an IT consultant by profession, but an artist by passion, and that's not by accident. I have been painting throughout my childhood. I started at very early stage and have won several awards during my school days. but I had to give priority on studies over artwork and had not been doing much over decades. However, since my child started painting once again, I took up my brush and I started painting, and I decided not to leave this time. And that's how my journey as an artist began in the year 2018. I'm a self-taught artist with no formal education in art. I have been painting in various mediums almost every week since 2018. But watercolor is something that I really love doing simply because I enjoy the process of painting more than the end result. To me, painting is a process of visual storytelling and capturing the mood, which is very, very important for any artwork. It is also a very tough medium to master due to the fact that the end result can be very, very unpredictable. Depending on the amount of water used, the moisture in the atmosphere, type of paper being used, the kind of pigments being used, transparency, opacity, techniques, etc., the end result can be very, very different every time you paint the same subject. And that is what I love about it. So I have painted this similar subject multiple times to get all different kind of results all together. Over the last few years, I have been trying to develop my own style, and I have found my inspiration from watercolor masters like Milind Mallik, Alvaro Castagnet, and Joseph Zugwik. Today, I'm happy to present 3 of my artworks, which are done in watercolor. They are my favorites due to the fact that they all have the elements that I love to have in my paintings, like the water, the boat, cars, buildings, people, and all, okay? Can I just have my first artwork here? Yeah, here it is. Okay, the first one, the Venice. Okay, the first, if you can just go back, yeah. The first one is the Venice, artwork of Venice, Italy, where I have tried capturing the mood of a very sunny afternoon. It has many of the elements that I want in my paintings. I have tried using vibrant, transparent colors as much as I could to give it a brighter, sunny afternoon look. All right, can I move to the next one? The second painting is of Varanasi, a holy city in northern Indian state of Uttar Pradesh, which hosts more than 23,000 temples. I call Varanasi the Indian Venice, which is also one of my favorite subjects. In this painting, I tried capturing the misty morning atmosphere with the use of minimalistic colors, where people are seen taking bath in the Ganges before offering prayers to Lord Shiva and other gods. Third painting is about a cityscape painting from New York City, where I have tried to capture the afternoon mood in this painting. I'd like to thank everyone, the organizers, the judges, and everyone for your support and giving me this opportunity to present myself today in front of you all. Thank you.
That's beautiful. Thank you very much, Rajan. There were such fantastic pieces of work. Let's go over to our first of our judges. Sujata, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts is very interesting to start the work again with, as he said, with his child. I think it's amazing that both can enjoy colors. Basically, the process is something that you enjoy, and if he loves it and if he's passionate about it, it's very good. I want to know that has he copied them a little bit from somewhere, because a lot of watercolor works are done on this subject. So it's entirely he was sitting there and he was doing it. So that's a question, because or it's halfway, or it's partly this, partly that. So that's my question.
Right. To answer your question, none of my paintings are taken from any reference as such. So I have seen a lot of pictures, photographs all over the internet. I had been to all these places as well. So I have taken a lot of photographs myself, and most of my paintings are mostly from my imagination. So as I was there, I have seen it myself. I visualize it through the eyes of my mind, and that is what I try to portray. So it's not a copy of any of the paintings.
Did it from your photos?
No, I had been there. I had been to all these places.
No, but did you do the artwork there?
No, these were not live painting, which I have done. No, this is something I have done in the studio. I had been to those places. I have taken a lot of photographs, and after coming back to my studio, I have did it myself.
Okay, let's just move over to our. Sorry, Sujata, I'm just going to move over to our next judge at the moment, if that's okay. Richard, what are your thoughts?
Thank you, Raj. I really like the work. I love watercolors. I love topographical watercolors. I think a couple of comments. One, is that you talk about water, and I think you could be more adventurous with how you deal with the water, particularly in Venice, where the water sparkles and almost you don't see the blue because of the light. You've got in the three works, you clearly are really fascinated by light, but the water on, the light on water, I think you can be more adventurous with that. But the one which I really kind of surprised me, intrigued me, actually made me, as I said at the beginning, what I want to see is things which make me see things differently, was your painting of New York. And it makes sense that you kind of did it slightly from imagination, because those kind of apartment blocks, those kind of skyscrapers, felt as though they were more, they would have been more at home in India or in the forest. They kind of tumbled over. They made me see and think about New York skyscrapers in a very different way, and I really, really like that. But I think that perhaps is where you can bring something new to your watercolors, whereas the others are really technically interesting and good, but perhaps as Sujita has said, there are a lot of watercolors of topographical landscapes and of Venice and so on out there, and maybe you need to think about how you can do things differently. And I think New York, you were looking at that.
Thank you.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Richard. Rajan, very briefly, what are your thoughts about what the judges have said so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting to see others' viewpoint. And definitely, I have done a lot of paintings on New York, Venice, Varanasi, and it's always been very difficult for me to select one out of them. Probably, I could see my hundreds of collections that I have done on one particular subject, but here I had to give only 3 artworks at the max for you to judge. So yes, I mean, I'd really appreciate your feedback, the comments that I have got from you, and I'll try to see if I can bring in something different in my artwork. Really appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Well, the best of luck, Rajan. I think your pieces were amazing. They were really, really beautiful to see. So good luck with the contest.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Moving on to our next contestant, we have Kimberly Randall, whose work incorporates autobiographical. Hello, hi, can you hear me there? I'm not sure what happened. I think I may have dropped out of the internet.
Yeah, something happened, I don't know.
Okay, so I'll just run through that again. So Kimberly Randall, can you hear us?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, hi, Kimberly.
Sorry about that.
Please introduce your paintings to us and to the judges.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hi, my name is Kimberly Randall. I am originally from the United States. I grew up in a place called Montana, which has a lot of open space and nature. So a lot of my current work has been heavily influenced by that. I received my BFA from the University of Montana School of Art, where I focused in painting and photography. And then I later expanded my horizons to study graphic design from the Kingston University School of Art here in London, which is where I live and work now. Currently, I am working full-time as both a graphic designer and an artist, a painter. My work and my concepts within my work as an artist right now are heavily influenced by my studies. So during my undergrad, during my dissertation, I studied the concepts and the format of memory and how I could resemble those in my artistic practice. And then later I expanded my research during my graphic design dissertation to study nostalgia and memory and how that interconnects with ideas of identity and the self. So my current body of work, which you can see on the slide, I'm not sure if it's up at the moment. Yeah, that one. So my current body of work, those 3 pieces and a few others as well, focus largely on the same concepts, where I have now taken a look kind of at the philosophy of art and how we can use that to explore the kind of phenomenological approach to the self and these kind of nuanced attributes of what it means to be human and to be yourself. So I kind of work up these sort of ephemeral but amorphic landscapes. And although I'm influenced by nature and travel, I actually draw inspiration from a very internal place. So my work, although it's very personal, I hope that it sort of resonates with a larger audience so that someone might be able to look at my work and maybe feel the emotion that I was feeling when I was painting, or maybe feel a different emotion because it draws them back to something in their past and kind of relates to their sort of identity and self. So that's my goal as an artist. And my goals for the future would be to paint full-time and to possibly look into PhD programs within the fine arts.
That's lovely, Kimberly. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
Let's go over to our first judge this time, Geeta. Geeta, tell me, what are your thoughts?
Hi, Kimberly.
Hiya.
Hearty congratulations on your wonderful, wonderful paintings.
Thank you.
I couldn't decide which one I like best, but to start with, the idea of nostalgia is such a concept, and it's something that everybody goes through, and it can either cause a twinge of pain or a glorious, moment to go back to that particular emotion. And I really think you've captured that so beautifully in the first one, where the texture that you've given, probably, the layers that you've created to create that base texture to then put on that emotion on top. I really think that what comes across is that you've allowed for us to get into your mindset in that painting quite clearly. And I really loved that. And what was the second one? Was We'd Sleep Beneath the Moon. Yeah. That again, it is, it's almost like there is this fluidity between the sky and the earth, that's the feeling that I get. It's not two separate, things that you could melt by, you could be afar, but still feel close, and that sort of a feeling that I got. And I know this is all very subjective when it comes to abstract art, but I could easily do connect with what you were trying to express in that, and I loved that as well. Of course, the last one, the turbulence, and it's so relatable. That concept was so relatable to human race in general. I felt that as human beings, we have so many transient moods and intense feelings in the psychological makeup of personalities, right? So, so that image you've portrayed with sort of plausible, believable, sort of edge to it, and I really love them. And also one more point to say that I used to teach at Kingston University as a part-time lecturer in dance department. So it's a great place to be, and wish you the very best. And once again, congratulations on your beautiful work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Geeta. That's great. Let's go over to our next judge, Richard. What are your thoughts?
Kimberly, thank you so much. You might see from my background, I am an absolute sucker for abstract art, and that's what I spend most of my time writing about. I think there is a problem when you associate abstraction and abstract expressionism with memory, because it is so subjective. And I think, I'd have a really long discussion about that. I suppose the things which come to me is they appear really beautiful. I think the titles offer three very different states of mind. And I'm not sure, when looking at the actual mark making and the color interactions, that the differences between those three states of mind, or those three kind of spaces, really come across. I think I can see your graphic designer side. The mark making is very fluid. I would be looking at the color. I would be looking at Joseph Alba's, looking at interaction of color, looking also at the relationship between the mark making, the graphic mark, and the more nebulous color spaces you've got behind them, because again, they don't quite, I think you could push more into that, the kind of relationships, looking at that perceptual boundary between the way that color works in the body. I think that's where color and abstraction works, is emotionally it's on the body. It's not about memory. It can associate memory, but it's about the physicality of color, the physicality of mark making, the haptic sense. And I think that can get really exciting, and you've got it there. I think you could do even more. I think you could take it further than you have at the moment. But wonderful work, really enjoy it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Richard. Sujata.
I would say that I myself is colorist and an abstract artist, so such work definitely speaks to me more easily. And I think the way you have used the space, the way you have used the meaningful empty space, I think that's very, very interesting. And especially the way the white has added a lot of sense and meaning, as you say, the memory. The white space can be colorful with memory, and it can be empty with the memory, because sometimes our memories are not clear. They are empty, but they are memories. So I think there is a very beautiful blend between memory, emptiness, and color, and the division of space. So it's very, very interesting. And I'm sure that if you go a little further and take one step further boldly without feeling any fear or anything, you will really find yourself somewhere there. You know, you can find small your own vocabulary there. I see the sign of that vocabulary there. Yes.
Thank you.
Kimberly, oh, fantastic comments there. What's your reaction?
Yeah, firstly, I just want to say thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the compliments. I guess I would want to say I agree with, sorry, was it Geetha, with the sort of the concepts of nostalgia behind this, sort of, it can be really great or it can be really bad. Maybe not bad, but really sad. And I kind of wanted to, because nostalgia for me is both. And so I wanted to be able to kind of portray that nuance, especially within the piece that she was talking about. But yeah, sorry, the concepts of memory aren't so much my own memory, and I do agree that it is a hard kind of concept to portray, and it can be very personal and very subjective, which is something I'm trying to work out in my work so far. So I'm going to continue to keep pushing it and trying new things. So thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kimberly, and good luck with the contest.
Thank you.
Moving on to our next contestant, we have Martin Freach, who is an artist that specializes in subconscious marker drawing, and we'll soon find out what exactly that means.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Hi.
We can hear you loud and clear, Martin.
All right, perfect. We had some technical difficulties before. So let me start. My name is Martin Freach, but I created my artistic pseudonym Smart Thin Freak based on my typical features. And what I do is subconscious marker art. My art basically doesn't have any outcome which I would foresee. It's just a following of patterns and stories, and basically drawing small bits and pieces and evolving them subconsciously without conscious censorship or without anything into the final artwork. So what's going on is I start drawing small patterns and small things, and eventually there is so many of them that I have no idea how to look at them as a mosaic of patterns and stories, but I have to look at the bigger picture, and then I start recreating the bigger picture without knowing what it's going to be. I would say my inspiration comes mostly from, I don't know, people I meet and the world we live in, which for some people and sometimes might seem a bit chaotic and a bit rushy and crazy and full of stimuli. But when you have different, I mean, I have a different points of view on it. You can look at the detail, and you can look at the bigger picture, and you can always choose between these two spectacles. And yeah, I would say the work I applied with, they are my three most recent works. One of them is the Evolving Complexity of Being, which is somehow summarizing my whole life journey and my whole life experience until the point of creation. There are many moments captured in it. There are many emotions captured in it. And since my two most important values in my life are honesty and transparency, I was trying to, not even trying to, my subconsciousness captured them as honestly and as transparently as I was able to. And the second artwork is the Mother of Snail. Mother of Snail is sort of a reflection of me. I'm a traveler and I'm always changing my place and location and people I'm meeting. And yeah, basically I'm sort of a snail surrounded by this amazing world full of magic, full of wonder, but at the same time full of grief and full of actual roller coaster of emotions and experiences. And the third artwork, it's Introspection of Chaos. And in Introspection of Chaos, I try to capture the story of basically lockdown and me coming back from China, where I didn't succeed. Basically, I didn't have a chance to succeed as an artist because the coronavirus started. So I came back to my hometown, to Slovakia, and I captured in these 4 artworks my whole summer experience, after which I came to London and settled down here again. So yeah, that's pretty much me. And if I have more time, I would probably say that since my artwork or like art process is very subjective, I managed somehow, I don't know how, to capture some very defining moments of my life without even realizing it. The whole process led me to a journey of self-discovery, and yeah, everything I created so far, when I look at it backwards, like when I look back, I can see my life in it. I think many people can find themselves in my artwork. That's it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Martin. Very interesting work there.
Thanks.
Your honesty and your transparency within your artwork. Let's go over to our first judge, Richard. What are your thoughts on Martin's work?
Martin, I love the work. It's very much, it's a really interesting take on the kind of outsider art, the self-conscious, the kind of surrealism, that kind of automatic drawing, and I love it. It intrigues me, it pulls me in, it surprises me, it shocks me, it kind of opens my eyes. It can look as though, people think, well, it looks like doodling. It takes so much effort to do work like that, where it comes together, the tiny little details you've got in there, where suddenly you're flipping between what looks flat into a 3-dimensional space, into complexity out of simplicity. Really love it, Martin. Yeah, well done. It's really great to see it.
Thank you very much. You also summed up what I wanted to say about the complexity in 3D and 2D, actually. I missed it. Thanks.
That's lovely. So out of from complexity to simplicity, that's a lovely phrase, isn't it? Let's moving on to Geeta. Geeta, what are your thoughts on Martin's work?
Hi, Martin.
Hi, how are you doing?
Your painting, your work shouts out genuinity and honesty, even if you didn't say anything about your characteristic, earlier on. What I love about it is you're not letting go of the thread, where it starts and where it ends. And I can actually spend hours looking at your work because, as you say, all of us have been somewhere there, and one can relate to it quite easily. And what is so magical about it for me is that it's almost the same, the pace of mind as to how it works. You've portrayed that, so in an instant, how fast the mind works, you can see that in your work. And all 3 of them, I really loved it. The one with Introspection of Chaos, in that one, you have the clock in all of the 4. So I was wondering whether it's something to do with time and space that you were trying to portray in that, is it relating to pandemic or, I don't know what, but I found that very interesting, sort of a melting clock there.
I can explain, like, for me, time has been always a limitation because we live in a world where time seems like I find time being very limiting and very like defining my life, because sometimes we have to rush throughout our whole life to different points and points of a life, and it always seems like we don't have enough time. And if you look like at all the other artworks, I think you can find time in each one of them. There are some repetitive patterns and things, and time is always there. And it's scary, but at the same time it's beautiful because that's all we have. time.
love
We
that
have one time.
I really love that reality of that. That's fantastic. Yeah. And I love the last one. I found that a little bit humorous, the snail. Yeah. And a smile to my face. That is wonderful. I really enjoyed your work and all the very best. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Geeta. And finally, to our last judge, Sujata.
I think almost everything is already said. So I can add few things to it, that I really enjoyed this, your personal journey in your work, because not everybody does that in this humoristic way and, you know, little bit surrealistic way. So I think it's very interesting, and especially the work introspection of chaos. I think everybody is going through it. Some are projecting, some are not projecting, some are thinking, some are not thinking. But I think because of this 2020, everybody has this in their mind and in their system somewhere, and everybody's a little bit struggling with it. So it was very interesting that you got it on the paper. And it's nice that you take time, because I think that's the most important thing. And the time gone never comes back. So I think it's very, very important to give that importance to the time.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Hi, importance to time. So Martin, what are your thoughts on the judges' comments?
I'm very grateful for this feedback. And yeah, I would like to thank you all for giving me these nice words and sort of a motivation to go on and to draw on. What I would also like to mention, by the way, since that's sort of very important for me, let's say the biggest artwork I've made, and since I don't do conscious drawing, just subconscious, it took me only 30 hours basically to finish. It's very quick. It's just constantly drawing, let's say for 10 hours, taking a break, and then 10 more hours to draw. So let's say in 3 days, I can finish the artwork like this. And as I believe Lovijit mentioned, it's like a one long flow of, yeah, brain processes. So yeah, thank you. You got it all.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Martin. I wish you good luck in the contest as well.
Thank you.
Great. Well, moving on to our next contestant, we have Christina Isaac. Now, Christina loves to show emotions, moods, and also a philosophical message through her artwork. Christina, let's see if we can go to you now. Hopefully we will just see Christina very soon, very shortly. Christina, can you hear us? Okay, I think what we'll do for the moment, we'll just skip on to the next contestant and come back to Christina. We may be having technical difficulties there, so let's just move on to our next contestant. This is Les Cuthbert. I hope Les is standing by. Les Cuthbert does photorealism.
Lovely, Christina's coming. Just wait.
Ah, she's coming. Great. Okay. Fantastic. Oh, apologies. I got. Or should we have Jenny next?
Yeah, it's Jenny. Sorry.
Let's go to Jenny. Right, Jenny Sexton is a soulful artist who loves painting faces and embraces raw emotion through natural expression and light. Jenny should hopefully be able to hear me and will be joining us now.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can indeed. Hello, Jenny.
Oh, brilliant. I got confused then because I did think I was next. Not to worry. Okay, so can you hear me okay?
We can hear you very loud and clear. Please introduce your artwork.
Yeah, I'm Jenny, and I like to paint faces. I call myself a soulful artist because I really love to embrace raw emotion, and I try to capture that in my portraits wherever I can through natural expression. As a child, art was all around me. We were a family of musicians, artists, poets, dancers, but it was never felt that I would make a career out of any of that. So I was encouraged to go into the corporate world instead, where I stayed for far too long, and my artistic skills became really rusty. But then nearly 4 years ago, I partially lost my memory. And the reason this is relevant is because I definitely felt a change in my abilities and shift in my abilities afterwards. I lost some skills, but I was also drawn back to my creative roots, and everything just seemed to click for me. So the art kind of became a therapy for me, and it helped me to find my artistic voice, because like I say, I look for those emotive subjects now, and I steer my commissions in that direction too. But it also helped me to sort out all of those mixed emotions that I felt after that trauma of losing my precious memories. So that's me. But moving on to my 3 pieces I've submitted today. The first piece is called A Mother's Love Knows No Boundaries. Now, the narrative of this picture really, really resonated with me. I just really could feel the love that was oozing from this mother as she was blowing a socially distanced kiss to her son who was taking the photo. As a mother of a son myself, the thought of being separated from him forcefully is just incomprehensible. So for me, there's actually 3 people in this painting. The second one I've entitled Over But Not Out. This is actually my son and his 2 best friends in front of their beloved cricket pavilion, wearing their cricket whites. Last summer, they left their primary school for the last time. They were year 6s, but they were not able to celebrate the way that we all wanted them to, which was heartbreaking. So they had mixed emotions too, but I wanted to capture the positive side. So, you know, their carefree attitude about starting the next chapter in their lives. They were always pranking each other, lots and lots of laughter. And I hope I've captured that as a souvenir for him. And then lastly, Wish Upon a Star. This is a father and daughter that were pictured in front of Cinderella's castle at Magic Kingdom. It was flash photography at night, so all the colours were washed out. And I've been there, so I wanted to inject that enchantment and that magic that you feel back into the painting for them by adding the abstract colours into the background and into her hair. So that's it. Thank you for listening.
That's lovely. Thank you very much, Jenny. Let's go over to our first judge now. Sujata, what are your thoughts on Jenny's artwork there?
I love the one she's done with her son and his friends. You know, it has so much emotions in that, you know, that it's in, but it's not out, but it's out, but it's not in. It's really beautiful piece. And I see that she's using her expression with some sort of a realistic approach to it, with her way of doing it. So it's her way, and if she feels that this is her voice and this is what makes her happy, I think that's the whole idea of art, that whatever you feel and the way you feel, you put it out, you know, without thinking what others are thinking. So I enjoyed the way you put the things, the way you express, especially the way you've titled them, you know, so that makes it very interesting. Yes.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sujata. Geeta, tell me, what are your thoughts on Jenny's work?
Hi, Jenny.
Hello.
I'm so glad, you know, your inspiration for arts had come back as quite naturally after your, you know, trauma with memory loss. But wonderful work. All 3 of them spoke to me, you know, it's about bond, it's about love and bond, and each one in a different circumstances. So therefore it really worked, and I'm sure every mother can sort of relate to all of that. What I liked about the quality of the painting was, first of all, so your technique is absolutely brilliant. Whilst one thing is the emotion of capturing that moment of joy, or a mother letting go, or father feeling that comfort of holding that child, all of those are emotions, but the technique that you've employed, you know, it very greatly enhances those emotions quite beautifully. I think my favorite was the one that you did as a wonderful gesture to your son. And again, I was thinking, if you had not explained all of that, that could be just a moment where they won a cricket match or something like that. You know, because it's a summer afternoon, and so one could interpret it in any which way. But beautiful. I'd really like the way you captured, it's a midday, I think, when the one with the mother blowing a kiss to the son. So small details of the shadow and things like that, stark reality of the mask and the phone, which is, something to hold on to. So all of those realistic aspects that you portrayed also, I really enjoyed it, and wishing you the very best.
Oh, thank you.
Lovely. Thank you, Geeta. Thank you very much for that. So moving on to Richard. What are your thoughts on Jenny's work?
Hi, Jenny. So love to see your work. You occupy a kind of a difficult place where you are making work which is realistic. As Geeta said, you have great technique. But part of me will always ask when I'm seeing paintings like this, why don't you take a photograph? Why aren't you just doing it as a photograph? And you describe yourself as a soulful artist, and I can see the soul in the first two, but that's because I can imagine, not because of the painting, but because I can imagine the relationships, and that's where the soul is. I did see the soul, and very strongly, in the last one, Wish Upon a Star, where you started to look at how you could use paint, use color, use the blurring of things to not, in a sense, be photo, although it still had a realism to it. You're actually playing a different game, and I think that's where you stepped out of the why aren't you just taking a photograph of this into what I call art making, into making a work of art. And I think that one had real potential to be developed further in other ways at looking at how to be a soulful artist, of asking the question, if I can do this with a photograph, do it with the photograph. But if I'm not using it, if I'm painting rather than taking a photograph, how do I make something which is different and says something differently? And that's the one where I think you really did that. The others, I could see the relationships, but that wasn't coming from the painting, it was coming from the relationships. The last one, it was different, and really applaud you with that one. I think that was great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Jenny, what are your thoughts on the judges' comments there?
I feel a bit like a rabbit in headlights, and I feel like I want to cry. But yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Richard. I can't see the point of replicating a photo, and I try to encourage commissions to let me have my artistic license and make it into a work of art. And definitely recently I've been trying to be more abstract with the background and moving away. Maybe the face might be in focus, but as you move away, become looser with the brush strokes. And I've been doing that a lot more recently, and I think that works. And I totally agree. If you want a photo, have a photo. But I believe that art should actually improve on a photo, and that's what I want to try and get better at, I guess. But I just thank you so much for getting me through to this stage. It's just very humbling, very humbling. Thank you. Good luck to everyone.
Oh, that's lovely, Jenny. Thank you very much for that, and good luck to you with the rest of the contest. But just to let you know, and all the artists that we've heard from so far, we've been having lots of chatter in the chat box and lots of reaction. Everyone seems to love your work so far, so that's always lovely to hear. So well done, artists who've presented so far. You're all doing great. People are loving you. Now, I believe we also have a question. We have a question from Sumita. Sumita, what's your question there? Hello, Smita. Hello, Smita. Do you have a question?
Hello. Are you talking?
Hi.
Oh, right. Sorry. I don't have a question. I'm just loving the interviews and I'm loving the paintings. Really nice. Beautiful. Yes. Yeah.
Lovely. Okay. Well, lovely to hear from you. That's great.
Yeah.
You don't have any specific questions for anyone here, for any of the artists? No. Okay. All right. Well, that's lovely to hear from one of our audience members there. That's always encouraging, isn't it? So let's let's move on now. Let's move on to our next artist, shall we? So our next artist is Christina Isaac, who loves to show emotions, moods, and have a philosophical message through her artwork. Hopefully we can hear from Christina now.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me now?
Hi, Christina. Yes, we can hear you. That's lovely. Please
Hello?
go ahead and talk and introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
It's absolutely fine.
Hello, my
Absolutely
name
fine.
is Christina. My name is Christina. I am an amateur artist and also I'm a student at the Open University. I'm studying arts and humanity. I am originally from Moldova. In Moldova, I studied art and design, interior design, and also fashion design. At the age of 18, I moved to Italy. In Italy, I studied art and history of art. So I've always been studying art, and I've traveled a lot. I lived in Spain and in Germany. So lots of my work. I moved to UK. I lived first in England, and 2 years ago, we moved with my partner in Scotland. It's a small village by the seaside. And the landscape around here is actually now my main inspiration because it's absolutely beautiful. And I'll try now my first painting to talk about it. It's autumn landscape. It's acrylic and ink on canvas. So I was inspired here by the colors that you see in autumn. And I created this abstract landscape, quite a melancholic one. The second one, it's Electric Night. It's another landscape, abstract landscape, which is inspired by the view, the sea view that I actually have by looking at from my own window. And it's also inspired by all the lights that you can see in the night. And it's that's why it's called electric sort of night. And my last drawing, it's the picture of eternal beauty. It's watercolor and ink on canvas. I don't see it. Yeah, this one here. With this drawing, I wanted to express the beauty of a female, and the pictures, the drawing itself is quite feminine in style and in the color. And that's about it. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Christina. Let's go over to our first judge. Shall we go to Geeta first? Geeta.
Hi, Christina.
Hello.
You know, the theme of autumn is always a pleasure to work with, whether, to go to live in autumn or, to see anything related to autumn is always a pleasure. And what I liked about that is that not conventional colors that you have used to portray autumn there, and that was very interesting for me. And the fact that you have those barren trees in silhouette in the forefront with the the colors, splash of colors at the back, that was really interesting and completely different perspective to looking at autumn that way. And I love those particular colors that you had used. It sort of gave me an impression of autumn at night time rather, so it's because one is so used to looking at the hues of orange, scarlet, yellows, and so on. So this was such a beautiful surprise and wonderful autumn. I would love to have that in my lounge sometime. The Electric Night, again, oh, beautiful. I loved those blues and again, the juxtaposing with that yellow and red, which could represent anything. My interpretation, even without reading your caption for it, I assumed, is it perhaps that she's trying to portray sunset? As to focusing on the electric night. So, or it could be buildings, as opposed to, nature and reality of, a street with lights or something like that. So, but I loved that juxtaposition of colors again in that one. And the last one, I'm very intrigued as to why you titled it that. What is the reason behind, why did you title it as Eternal Beauty?
it's because of the use of a color I use.
All right.
It was something that for me was like a representation of beauty.
Right.
So that's the reason behind.
Yeah, I love the fluidity of colors in that one. But my first thought was, what I could not tap into your mind as to why you called it that. Anyway, but it showed the image itself showed vulnerability, freedom, and security all put together in terms of an emotion for that painting. But wonderful work, all three of them. Really loved.
Thank you very much.
All the very best to you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Geeta. Sujata, what are your thoughts on Christina's beautiful
I was
artwork here?
enjoying her stormy autumn. I felt there is some storm has come in autumn, and I think it's one of my favorite seasons. So I really enjoyed seeing that. And I felt that she is comfortable and secure with colors. So I think she can really take a next step, can be very bold and do some experiments with colors, because you see, once if you're secure and if you're not scared of colors, then of course you can definitely do some more experiments and find out more about yourself and through your colors, and colors can find out your own self also. So it's like a give and take between color and you, and that can be very interesting. I felt that she has a little bit, how you say, not sure about her subject line and a third work. It's interesting work, but it doesn't go with the first two. It would have been maybe something in a same line which goes further. It is interesting, but I just felt that maybe would have a one step further to those two works. But I enjoyed her security with the colors, as I'm saying. Yeah.
Thank you.
And
Brilliant.
good luck.
Brilliant, lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sujata. Thank you. And moving on to Richard, our final judge.
Hi, Christina. I agree with both Geeta and Sujata about your colours, particularly in the autumn landscape. What really intrigued me was when you look at the dimensions, it's incredibly small, it seems to me. It's 20 by 20 centimetres. So it's a really intense, that's a really, because it's so small, it's really, it's very intense work. And the only thing which came across quite strongly for me is maybe you need to look at your, the kind of preparation of, it's not just good enough to work with color or line. What I could see in the middle, which kind of stopped me, especially in a very small canvas like that, was the fact I could see the canvas, the texture of the canvas, and that got in the way. And I think you need to think about using gesso or preparing the surface properly so you have a smooth surface where you then use those colors and allow them to speak for themselves. Whereas at the moment, what's happening is you're fighting against your surface of the canvas. And I think once you start to look at preparation and actually not just think you put paint onto canvas and that's good enough, that isn't. Yeah, you have to think about the surface you put it on, because otherwise, when you're working that small, it really can come across. I wasn't worried about the fact you got a figurative work at the end. A lot of people I write about go backwards and forwards between figuration and abstraction, without thinking. That I really liked that figure. What I didn't like, and I'll be blunt, I just was going, why are there two what seem to be butterflies at the bottom of this painting? They just seemed like an effect which made no sense. And also, why were there those two lines? Is it the kind of trend that some people have now that you've got to put dribbles and drips onto a painting because that makes it contemporary? Well, it doesn't. Or are they because she's on a swing, but the way she's looking, it looks as though you've taken you've got this back of a figure lying down, but then these two lines make it look as though she's on a swing. You don't need those. Concentrate on the figure. Don't mess about with, I've got to have a dribble or drip of paint down the side and put butterflies in. What are the butterflies about? But I think there's a huge amount of promise and lots to work on, but there's also lots you've got to get right in the underpinning of kind of why you're making marks, what you're putting those marks onto, to allow it to really carry as they do. But thank you. Yes, it's lovely to see.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, that's lovely to hear. Thank you very much, Richard. Christina,
Yes.
What would you like to say to the judges?
Well, thank you very much for your feedback. I agree with feedback, and I will try in my future to do better. And thank you again very much, and good luck to all.
Thank you.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you very much, Christina. And I wish you the best of luck in this contest. Perhaps we'll see you in the finals. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Now, artists, I would just like to encourage you all to share your Instagram accounts because we're getting lots of requests in our chat box, which is fantastic. So please do share. Everyone seems to want to know you, find out a bit more about you, which is always great. I believe you also have a question from Jenny. Jenny Alway, do you have a question for us? Jenny, can you hear us? You're on mute. Okay, perhaps Jenny can't hear us quite yet. Perhaps we can return to her later on. I would also just like to point out to everyone that if you would like to find out more about our contest, please do follow us on our Twitter handle at 99worldartists. That would be fantastic. I would also like to let the judges know that you're also being praised. So artists and judges are being praised alike for their critique in the chat box. So I'm hoping the judges like that. Hopefully everyone's getting a good dose of applause here, which is always lovely to hear in these gloomy days over winter. So that's fantastic. Now I'm going to do a quick poll. We've got a couple of minutes left before the break time. So let's just have a quick poll here. Out of all the artists we've seen so far, I think it would be quite interesting just to find out who you would vote for. So please let us know, who would you vote for out of all the artists we have seen so far? So you have a choice there from Rajan, Kimberly, Martin, Jenny, and Christina. Hopefully we have our results in. Let me just check if we can get our results there. And the results, here we go. Jenny is steaming ahead there, Jenny Sexton. So well done, Jenny, so far, but closely followed by Martin. And then we also have Kimberly as well. So everyone's doing really well, actually. Everyone's got quite a few votes there. So well done, guys. And I'm sure as the day goes on and as the votes go on, everyone will be gathering up more votes there as well. So now we're going to take a short break just for 5 minutes. If you do have any other questions, please do raise your hand by clicking the hand button on the Zoom. And don't forget, after today's elimination round, you can vote for your favorite artist on our website, which is 99worldartists.com. That's 99worldartists.com. See you all in 5 minutes. Hello, welcome back. Thanks very much for joining us for the second half of the second elimination round of the 99 World Artists. And first of all, I would like to get back to our contestants. So our next contestant we have is Les Cuthbert. Les Cuthbert does photorealism and draws things so it creates a feeling or an emotion that makes people stop and think. Les, welcome to the contest. Les, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. We're looking forward to hearing from you and about your artwork as well. Over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Les Cuthbert. I'm a self-taught artist. I've been drawing from a young age, but over the years I've done mainly portraits of dogs and people. Over the years I've developed my own techniques regarding what tools I use and also the control of the pencil to create the shading I need exactly. I decided I didn't want to keep just copying photos and doing drawing photos. I wanted to see things through my eyes and stop that moment. When I see it, capture it and stop it and then draw it. But also what I do is change things within that drawing. So it's not also just straight from a photo. Sometimes I create a background or other things. If I can just go on to my first drawing, which is Vanishing Point. Over there. Yeah, if we're there, Vanishing Point, I took the original photo in Verona, in Italy, in a train station. It was very intricate. I enjoyed the way everything went to a vanishing point. Well, I can remember looking around at the vanishing point and thinking, wow, that's amazing. And I just carried on, I just drew that. And the intricacy, it was frustration because there's so much detail. I had to keep chipping away at it. It was patience testing, but also it strengthened my will to continue doing the drawing. I really enjoyed doing that, and of course forcing myself to carry on was a challenge in itself. If I can move on to Morning Mist. Yeah, that was, I just captured that from a moving video. I just saw this snippet of this moment and just stopped it and captured it, where I've changed also the background to make it look more misty. I've made the background more cloudy and moody. The swan, I wanted to get that right because I needed those two things, the background and the swan, to work together so it creates that gentleness, that intricacy and the beauty of the swan. Moving on to the ballerina. The ballerina itself, that was her, she was captured in a moment, and I changed the background completely because what I wanted to do was make it look like she'd come to the end of the stage and she stopped and then wanted to sort of go back the other way where she's pointing, sort of facing. But I just wanted to capture the beauty of her face, the arms, the delicacy of the arms, and the beauty from the dress as well. It really was a joy to draw that one. And what, like I say, I do draw to realism, but they're not directly from a photo. They are changed or how I see them. You wouldn't find these photos on the internet or anywhere, to be honest. That's it.
Lovely, brilliant. Thank you very much, Les. Thanks very much for that. Let's go over to Richard. Richard, what are your thoughts on Les's work?
Hi, Les. Thank you so much for sharing your work. You might have heard me earlier talking about that kind of balance between, you know, kind of if you are making a drawing or a painting and you're on that boundary between of photorealism, you've got to know that why this isn't a photo. And I think you're exploring that, and it comes across that you're now going into that area and asking those questions. I suppose the two questions for me. One is that when you are working in a photorealistic way, I don't want to be brought up short with this is looking photorealistic, but it's not quite right. So there are tiny things like the ballerina's arms, which aren't quite right. There's something about the head. They're too thin. They're not photorealistic, but they're done in a photorealistic style. So I think where the kind of way forward maybe is actually asking the question, how do I take my technique, and it's a really strong technique, but how do I take this and actually go into even more focus? So with the ballerina, you could get rid of the tutu, you could get rid of the legs, you could get rid of so much and say, what is it I'm looking at? And allow that, you know, to be focused on. The same with the swan, the same with the vanishing point. I think it's about asking the question and being brave enough to say, if I'm doing photorealism, it doesn't necessarily need to be the whole photo. It can be, what is it in the photo that I'm really drawn to? So you talk about the vanishing point, you're talking about her going off to the stage. It could just be those arms. And then when you're getting rid of everything, not, you know, if you're not having everything in, then you can have that extended arm, because you're actually making a point then about it going off to the edge of the stage. You're allowing it to in a sense, be expressive and genuinely so, when people aren't thinking, well, this is a photo, but it isn't a photo. And I think that's where I'd perhaps be taking the work further. But really great technique, really interesting way you're taking it, and I really enjoyed seeing the work.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Richard. Great technique, Les. So that's always nice to hear. Sujata, what are your thoughts on Les's work?
I fully agree with Richard, what he has said, because his technique is very good, and I see he's enjoying his technique. He has used his pencil, he's handled it very well. But I think what Richard has said, he should think about it, and maybe that will give him a next step or a helping hand to think how should go further, or how should think, or how should put his work, you know. He can maybe try a little bigger size of works where might be he get a better liberty to his expression or his technique. So, but I see he's enjoying what he's doing, and he knows what he's doing at this stage. I think that's very interesting. Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
I fully agree with Richard, what he has said. He's analyzed it very well.
Excellent. Thank you, Sujata. Geeta, what are your thoughts?
Hi, Les.
Hiya.
Hi. To start with, there are a lot of contradictory statements in all the three in the paintings that you talked about. Very interesting, though. Now, it's not a negative way of saying it, but what I'm trying to say is in the railway station one, where you're talking about a vanishing point, and you know, to an extent that it becomes abstract. Yet the painting has so many details, you know, and accurate details, you know, which is fascinating. The technique to see that is, you know, is almost marveling at, you know, is this a photograph or a painting, you know? So in that sense, that was very interesting for me to note that you had, you know, titled it that. Yeah. And about the morning mist, I felt that whilst there is very less detail at the back of the, you know, the swan, which actually, that is the striking feature there, which sort of makes it look morning, you know? So things like that, I just thought nothing about the swan there, although there's so much detail on the swan and the reflection of the water and so on. Yeah. Yet the backdrop was quite interesting, that one. And about the ballerina, you talked about how you captured the moment of she wanting to go this way or that way.
Yeah.
For me, the focus was on her face and the expression on her face, and I can relate to it as a dancer. Yes. You know, and she would be a heroine called Viraganayika, which means she's a lamenting heroine, and that's the expression that I get out of that face. And I don't know whether that was just in you know, sort of instinctive way of giving her that expression, because you said you'd done that with the memory, right? So whether it was that, or you were more concerned about, you know, having wanting her to sort of, you know, hold that pose, or what, you know, so that was a little bit, I wasn't sure.
Okay. Yeah, I did. The face was like as it was, and I drew it because I just wanted to capture that face as it was. It was just that moment in time. And like I say, you won't find an individual photo of that. It was just captured. And as I saw it, because it was just a fraction of a second in time.
Right. Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. Wish you the very best.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good luck.
That's some lovely comments there, Les, particularly about your technique. Everyone seemed to love that. Any other comments you would like to say to the judges? Anything else?
No, thank you for your comments. You know, it's constructive, and Richard's right. I'm going in the right direction, and I do want to create more pieces that, you know, I just want people to look at them. It becomes a talking point. It makes people think. It draws them in, and they're asking questions about what else is within that picture. And that's where I want to get. I really want people to think and call the friends over and say, come and look at this. What do you see? And then other people see something different, and it's getting people together as well. And that's what I want from my art. I don't want people to just look at it and go, oh, that's a photo. I want people to be drawn in and get exactly what they, emotion, feeling, stuff like that.
Well, Les, I can certainly say you're drawing people in on the chat. You have a huge number of fans who all seem to adore your artwork. So well done on that score.
Thank you very much, judges. Thank you. And thank you for everybody.
Thank you very much, Les. Thank you. So moving on to our next contestant, we have Glenn Davison, who's an artist from East Yorkshire and plans on turning a professional artist in the very near future. Glenn, hope you can hear us. Over to you. Hello, Glenn, can you hear us? Okay, I'm not sure whether Glenn can quite hear us. Perhaps we'll...
He's there, he's on mute at the moment.
Hello there, can you hear me there?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear now.
Excellent. How are you doing there? You okay?
We're all good, Glenn. Over to you. Introduce yourself and your artwork.
Okay, well, my name's Glenn. I'm a painter, sculptor, and performance artist. I also enjoy doing life drawing. My style ranges from abstract to impressionistic paintings to realism and surrealism. I started a degree about 8 years ago as a mature student in contemporary fine art practice at the Hull College of Arts. This course was fantastic. It really took me out of my comfort zone. Great example of this. I remember one day when I was in one of my classes, and I made a very large oil painting of a seascape, and the tutors came up to me and they asked me to smudge the whole thing out and make it unrecognisable. And then they asked me to put the painting on the floor and start to pour things onto the painting, like bits of varnish and thinners. And the interesting thing was that I was starting to find some really interesting marks appear. And to cut long story short, eventually, later down in the year, I ended up getting that painting exhibited into the Ferrens Art Gallery. And since then, I've exhibited lots of paintings and had lots of exhibitions. And it's really, my lesson is you've got to push yourself and experiment, and you've got to make mistakes on the way of doing so. I'd like to look at one of my first submissions, which is Resurrection, which is the horse. I don't know, have you got that there on the screen there?
We have, yes, we can see it here.
Just wait for you to get that.
Yes, we have. We can see it
okay,
here.
Okay, basically, I don't know if you're getting the horse on there. The painting it's a surreal painting, and I've used the horse as a symbol. Like, okay, yeah, I've used the horse as a symbol, like you would in the Renaissance painting. That's great. And I've used it as it symbolises Mother Nature and the beauty that our planet holds. I've got light coming through the trees with like a slight warmth, which is to represent hope. And the message of this painting is that, you know, we can make changes to our planet. Instead of the doom and gloom that we have with society, it's an encouraging, wholesome picture that's saying, you know, the horse is resurrected. It's showing our planet's former glory. I'll go through to the next painting because I know we haven't got much time. The next one is called the New York Tramp. And okay, I'll tell you about the New York Tramp if it's going on there. And basically, we're doing the Amsterdam Voyage. Oh, okay, we're doing that one. Yeah. Now, what happened here was I wanted to really focus on the expression on this poor man's face. He's had a lot of hard times in his life, and he's thinking very hardly, and he looks like he's got this thought in his mind saying, "Why is this happening to me?" And what I've done on the actual painting, I've put some slight colour near the eye to draw you into his thinking process. And I've used very relaxed brushstrokes whilst doing this painting. And what I'll do is I'll take you through to the final painting, which is called Amsterdam Voyage. If you can get up on there. Yeah, basically this one, this is a painting of my dad, myself, and my brother. And my dad had just recently finished chemotherapy for esophagus cancer. Now, the treatment had proved to be very successful. And what happened was we decided to go on holiday. Now, there's a moment in time where I took a picture and all the pain and suffering is gone. And this is the magic about art to me, is that you can have meaning and tell a story through your paints. If you look closely into this painting, I've used a reference to cubism, and I've used very subtle colour. And the idea is just to not distract anything from the expression on all of our faces, where it's one moment that's been captured in time, which is a very happy one. Thanks ever so much for listening, everybody.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Glenn. Those are really interesting pieces of art there. Let's go over to Sujata. Sujata, please tell me, what are your comments on Glenn's pieces of work?
My comments that the first work, the horse work, which has a good mix of landscape and a horse at the same time, is a very well blend by color scheme also, and it has something there which is very interesting. Another thing which struck me, that he has a very special way of portrait painting. He has his technique, he has his style, and I'm sure he can further work on it, but he has something which is original there, with the jacket, with the portrait, the way he's showing it, his way of expression, feelings. Of course, the choosing subject is a very personal thing, that doesn't matter, but I see that handling is very, very interesting. Yes. And of course, his hand is good. There's no doubt about it. Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Sujata. Geeta, what are your thoughts?
Hi, Glenn. My thoughts, wonderful. I think my first impressions were it carries a lot of emotions in all of the three pieces that you have presented. Super stunning work with the horse. Of course, it defies belief that it is actually a painting. Although you attach so much symbolism to the horse and, relating it to the current times and so on, that can be subjective or objective, whatever it is. But the sheer beauty of this pedigree horse alone is enough to believe in creation and preservation, So what the other striking aspect that I noticed that was understanding the anatomy of the horse, even when it's standing in a normal position, is hard enough, let alone being twisted, turning it around like that. So my thoughts were going, so you had to be really careful in getting those proportions right and so on. So impeccable work in that one, and loved the background. It just lends itself to highlight your work that is more prominent in the forefront. And about the Amsterdam voyage, I was drawn. What I liked firstly was the pixelated effect that you had given, through the background and on their, coats and suits and all that. And fascinating thing for me was those expressions. All three of you had very different emotions, and all of them were very related to the topic that you had suggested for it. A sense of gratitude, a sense of relief, and so on. And you brought in the idea of Amsterdam with the cobbled grounds and the bicycle, which is a mark of Amsterdam. So things like that, made it a complete picture for me, that one. And the New York tramp, I thought, was a very daring attempt. And you put yourself to be very vulnerable in handling that, because there's nothing else to help you but to project on that, close-up of that image and the expression and the, detailing. Although I must say, it is not comparable to the horse that you had given so much details, yet this one was, it's still I could see that you weren't so worried about the details, but yet it was a daring piece, and I actually loved that. That was one of my favorites. Wishing you the very best, Glenn.
Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Geeta. Richard.
Glenn, I'm really excited to hear about your journey, where you've come from, and your ambitions and hopes. About 100 years ago, an artist called Paul Nash did a painting of the First World War battlefields. He'd been a war artist, he'd been in the First World War in the trenches, and he did this painting called We Are Making a New World. And it shows a kind of a battle landscape with trees which are exploded, and coming over the back of some distant hills through the trees is a sun. The colours in that are heightened and kind of almost explode this sense of hope. I really see what you're doing with Resurrection, but I think you could go further. I think it could be more. If you want to show hope, it's too muted. It doesn't say hope to me. It's too muted in that background. And I'm going to disagree with my two judges about the horse. The horse on the head is lovely, but I'm distracted by the flanks. What I will say is that my wife and daughter aren't around at the moment, because they go and they have horses. I go and go and spend time with horses every day. The side isn't right. The highlights, the shadows are too exaggerated. They're not right. And because you're trying to be very realistic, you've got it wrong. And if you want to be that realistic, you need to make sure that you're not doing an artistic highlights, doing it artistically. You need to know that you're doing it anatomically, and the anatomy isn't quite right. So I'd go there, and I'd say the same with the New York Tramp. I love the New York Tramp, but then I look at his hands and I think the hand doesn't work, and the hand is so powerful, but it's as though you've decided I want to take it a bit further with the mark making, and yet you're balancing it with, again, with realism and representation, and you just tipped over. And I would pull it back, and I'd say the same with the blue in the eye. That's the kind of thing I'd expect to see at art college. It's a kind of fun, oh, this is an idea, I can emphasize things. But as you move into being a professional artist, sometimes you need to pull back on those, what I call the student, let's do a big bash effect, and say, I don't need to do that to get the same effect and actually be more powerful, because the blue distracts me. I wonder, why is it there? Have you made a mistake and then decided not to take it out? It doesn't speak about what you want it to speak. It just is a blue, which in a sense isn't saying, as powerfully what you need to say. And that's the same with the hand. Just rein it back and your technique will take you so far. But you're at that kind of cusp where, in a sense, you're rushing to do lots of things because you can, and maybe just pull back a little bit and you'll go even further. But really exciting where you are. I wish you all the success. I'm sure you will have lots of success, but just be careful, at this stage in where you're going.
That's lovely. Thank you very much, Richard. Thank you very much. Glenn, I've got to say, you've got a huge number of fans in the chat box as well, it seems. But what are your thoughts on what the judges have said?
Yeah, no, it's great feedback. I'm so excited to be involved in this competition, and to have people recognizing my work, and as I said earlier on, that we've all got to experiment, and we've got to make mistakes to improve. So I take on board what the judges say, and we can always improve. And that's my aim, is just to keep improving all the time and progress. So, but it's been fabulous to hear all your comments, and I wish you all the very best.
That's lovely. Thank you very much, Glenn. Thanks for showing us your artwork then. We wish you the best of luck in this contest.
Thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We're moving on to our next contestant now is Neil Vaughan, who's a multidisciplinary artist. He's currently focusing on recording locations across the UK, following popular walks and trails to working on sketches or final works, plein air, I believe. Neil, I hope you can hear us. You're unmuted. And we can go over to you now to if you can talk us through your artwork.
Yes, certainly. Thank you very much for inviting me. I suppose my art is about the love of nature and the love of process is the most important thing for me, really. I suppose I'd like to thank everybody really for the privilege of being able to present today. I feel quite emotional about it. I suppose I use my art as therapy and as experiencing nature and experiencing the outside. I am predominantly a plein air drawer. And so even in weather like today, I'll be out and hopefully maybe tomorrow. I have a BA in fine art. I did that at Newport, then left, went into the media industry. I'm now left the media industry and came back to teaching. I run community events and run open studios for my local community and workshops. And we did free workshops during lockdown and to help with people through that. And we do art therapy as well. I sell mostly in the UK. I have sold for the Mall, I have exhibited for the Mall galleries as well. But I suppose really, if we come on to this piece here, which is probably the larger of the two pieces, which is the one of the rain in Wilderness Island. Really, this was started in the autumn, on autumn day, and it started chucking it down with rain. So I actually had to hold the picture down towards me a lot of the times to actually draw it. It's drawn in charcoal first, and then I layer on top with pastel. And I'm thinking really of just looking at shape and colour and tone. And I just enjoy really the surprise that weather and light gives you as you're drawing. This one particularly, I drew for 2 hours, then went back out the next day and did another 2 hours on it as well. And then the other piece, which was another Wilderness Island piece, which is the larger charcoal. This is an A2 sketchbook. So I only exhibited 2 pieces with you, because I wasn't too sure whether this was 1 or 2 pieces. But I kept it in the sketchbook, and you can see the whole sketchbook is full of journeys in Wilderness Island, which is very close to me. And this is done again. This is done with charcoal, but I kept it in charcoal. I didn't do colour on top. And this really again was slightly later, and this is now when the autumn is becoming into winter. And there was this gorgeous light coming over the trees. And I loved sort of trying to capture that across these 2 pages. And I use very, very unconventional methods. I use found charcoal. So I've got lots of different types of charcoal I use, really to sort of gain mark making within my work and that appreciation of mark and line and light. And really that's me there, really. So, so yeah, I just enjoy drawing. So yeah.
That's lovely. Thank you very much, Neil. That's great to hear that. Let's go to Richard. Richard, what are your thoughts on Neil Vaughan's work?
Neil, I absolutely love the work. I think it's brilliant. It's the kind of work which landscape work I'm always drawn to, not because it shows me what the landscape looks like realistically, but because it shows me what it is to walk through the landscape, where you notice tiny details out of the corner of the eye, where you are kind of unfocused at times, where you're not, when we look, not everything is in focus. Most of the stuff we see is not in focus, but there are tiny moments which are in focus, and that's what you capture so beautifully in your work. And it's so exciting to see that, this confidence to not make it look realistic in sharp detail across the whole surface of the paper, but to allow us to go on a journey, noticing tiny moments of detail and then moments of kind of just blurring, which are kind of so atmospheric. I think the color work, where you layer it with the pastel, really develops that, and it's just beautiful. The 2 charcoal and found charcoal works, again, the mark making, the different mark making, the hatching, moving through to the smudging, through to the tiny detailed. It's really exciting. If there's any comment, sometimes the transition, it can be difficult to go from a transition when you're looking at water between kind of the bright light and the kind of and shadow and so on. I think you've, I think you kind of maybe with the drawing on the left of the sketchbook page, just some of that transition on the left-hand side, you could play with more. You could just look at again, but I love the work. To me, that is what walking through a landscape is about, and you've captured it so beautifully. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Richard. Sujata, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I also loved his work because I think there is some confusion, and that confusion creates a lot of interesting tension and a lot of interesting things around it, because there is a small reality, but it's not fully reality. And I think the way those strokes go, the confusion between colors, small details, not details. So I really think that he has a long way to go, and it's very interesting. I like the work. He can try his hand on even a very big space, very big canvas or a space or a paper, because that will give him even more liberty, and the strokes will have more strength, because I think his lines and his strokes, they have strength, and that strength can be explored or experimented in even in a larger way or even more intense way. That's what I would say. Yes, but I really liked your work, even the charcoal, the way you have handled it. It's very, very interesting, and I enjoyed it, really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Sujata. So Neil, you need to go big. Geeta,
Yeah.
I'm going to come to you very, very briefly. If you could give us a quick comment there.
So, hi, Neil. What your work shouts to me is absolute consistency, and there's so much movement and fluidity within that work. And what I felt was you tried to capture the moment, and you're rushing with your ideas and so on. Even though you said you went the next day to capture it again, the consistency is really beautiful. I mean, it doesn't seem like it was done in 2 sittings, like it was done in 1 sitting. And what, like Richard said, is very beautiful. Well, whilst it's mainly abstract, there are some very specific detailing that catches the light in that first one, where it's like a fern that catches the light. And that detailing really was so beautiful, very captivating. And I love the charcoal as well. Again, like Sujata said, this you could make that into a bigger piece. I really loved your work, and wishing you the very best, Neil.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Geeta. Neil, do you have anything to say?
I'm quite emotional. Thank you so much, everybody. It's interesting because, lots of people have been saying, Neil, go bigger, go bigger, go bigger. And that was a reaction to someone saying go bigger. And that was a reaction. So I am going to go much bigger. And it was really lovely hearing people talking about that idea of kind of semi-abstraction and finding little figurative marks. And because Joan Erdley and Joe Mitchell are my 2 heroes, and that idea of going bigger like Joe Mitchell, but then finding those smaller details like Joan Erdley just rings true to me. So thank you so much.
Well, good luck, Neil. I hope you go far in the contest. We'll see what happens.
Cheers, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to our next contestant, we have Veronica Kraus. Veronica Kraus has always been creative. Her work is an abstract portrait, and she sees her artwork as an expansion of herself. Veronica, I hope you can hear us as we go over to you now, and I hope you're unmuted. No. Veronica, can you hear us?
Hello?
Hi, Veronica, over to you.
How are you?
We're very good, thank you. Please go ahead.
Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Veronica, and I would like to talk about what is behind my work and style, also inspire some motivation and joy with my story. Originally, I'm from south of Spain, where the ocean and the sun are, but living in London for the last 7 years. My memories from childhood are always me with a pencil, bright and colorful scenarios, really crafty, and my professional background is in graphic design and illustration. And before I moved to London, I was working as a creative. But once I came here, the things changed, and I saw I needed to adapt myself to this country, work in different sectors, etc. I started from zero. I didn't lose my passion for arts and creativity, but I needed to prioritize for life. It is there when a big gap starts, not creating art or taking any action for change it. 2 years ago, after I achieved my goals, start a family, I felt I could do something else. So something was missing, and it was time to do something for myself, be back on track and continue what I left on the side. What was the best way to start? Back to study again, creative arts, this time at the Open University while working full time. This motivation, this step forward with the support of my family and friends and seeing a progress make me take a decision in the beginning of 2020. Take the risk and start to work in the creative arts sector again. But sadly, pandemic starts. So during the first lockdown, I have the time to dedicate fully in what I want for my future. Just 1 second. And how to cope with the situation and keep me grounded. I took advantage of my time and the exercise of drawing every single day, learning, exploring, experimenting, etc. helped me to cope and keep me grounded. So that is when this style appears. I was combining my inspiration for shapes, colors, people, how multicultural London is, having friends all around the world, live street art, with my personality full of joy, energy, positivity, good mood, quirky. I was transforming and putting all that in my art. From there, everything changes. Working every day, sketch by sketch, I got my first commissioned painted. All those artworks that you see in the contest are commissioned paintings, prototypes on my wave of those clients. And this what you see behind me are sketches and little projects coming soon. All those lines, colors, energy that is in my work, it is what drives me naturally to create and create a smile or surprise on the people's faces when they see my work, a way to discover someone else in this new abstract cubism form. I emphasize the flat and two-dimensional surface of the picture, resulting in paintings that appear fragmented using pure and stroke pigments with acrylic paint or marker pens. I feel like building a puzzle. So at the end, you should do what makes you happy, be yourself and follow your dreams. It is worthy and fight against any dark moments or gaps or pandemic. Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Veronica.
I was a bit nervous.
Geeta. Brilliant. Geeta, what are your thoughts?
You know, it was all absolutely positive images to me. I think it's and it just made me happy looking at it. You know, I'm not even dwelt into it deeper, but just looking at the colors, the arrangement, like you say, is like a puzzle, like a work, and it just made me happy. What was interesting was the loops that you had used in the first one, the boy from the window. And the natural, those loops that make those natural spaces, which allowed for you to, you know, sort of have those colors put in also to enhance that work. I thought was, I hope you understand what you mean, those intersection with those loops, you know, sort of that I liked. And also the fact that it was one of those things that sort of started and finished at the same point. So that idea I really liked. And about the couple portrait, it was difficult for me to decipher the two mediums that you'd used. You said you had used a marker pen, right?
Yeah, marker pen and acrylic, yeah.
So yeah, things like that, I was not able to see that, you know, mixed media work in that sense. But no, again, as I said, it was all three were the same sort of genre of work, and so much of it really depends on what you see in those. And I'm happy to have that explanation that you had also given along with it. And you talked about how this is like a tool to cope. You know, but I really think with this kind of motivation and the aptitude that you have for work, you can actually beat it. So wishing you the very best, Veronica.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Geeta. I'm afraid we're running short on time slightly, so I'm just going to go to Sujata next. Sujata, What are your thoughts on
I
Veronica's
would go
work?
very fast. I would say I enjoyed the continuity between the works. I see that she has her own style, and I can see that she's really enjoying what she's doing. There is a lot of fun, and which comes from her origin because they're fun-loving people. So I think that you see that it's coming there, and when you have a thought process, see, somebody likes, somebody doesn't like, that's a different issue. But if you have a thought process and you have a harmonious journey, then you can definitely go very far. So, and I think that she has started that here. And if she continues those lines, and I see she's enjoying, and I think that's, and having fun, and that's really great. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Sujata. Veronica, what are your thoughts on what the judges have said?
Oh, thank you so much for the feedback. No, and this opportunity is, for me, it's a step forward in what I want to accomplish and for improve. You know, and it's true. You can see I have so much fun in what I'm doing. You know, so I will keep improving and keeping working. So yeah.
Well, Veronica, continue to have fun. It seems that you really are enjoying it, and that's what we like to see. Good luck with the art contest, and thank you for taking part.
Thank you.
So moving on now to our next contestants, we have Anita Hiranandani. Anita has a master's in floristry, and she paints mostly flowers in mixed media. Recently, she's been experimenting and hoping to give a different look to her paintings with a 3D dimension. Anita, can you hear us? I'm hoping we can go over to you now. Anita,
Hello? Yeah, I'm here.
Lovely, lovely. Please take the floor.
Okay. And first of all, thank you everyone who's voted for me. I'm really glad that I'm on this forum, and absolutely wonderful work so far I've seen of other people. I'm a mixed media artist, and I have moved to countryside in England from vibrant city of Delhi in 1980s, and I have worked as a florist for many years. My inspiration comes from heritage culture of colorful India. I also get inspired by rhythms of nature. I'm a florist, and I stay outdoor quite a lot, and I'm a keen gardener also. I feel all the answers that we have in the world are there in the nature. We just have to be very observant and watch our nature. So my paintings also have a lot of messages to cheer people up, especially in lockdown. So the first painting is inspiration from India. Can we have that? Okay. Yeah, so first painting is inspiration from India. It's first stage of our life. So painting is called box of crayons. Like child, we have all the colors to have fun and have, as a child has no worries. Elephants are playing and dancing, and the grass is very colorful. And the sparks of energy are seen in the grass there. The painting is on canvas. It's an oil painting with a mosaic made of the polymer clay, and it's finished with the epoxy resin on it. The second painting of poppies is the second stage of life. They are tall, growing, and now the colors are more complex and mature. We can see life is not all black and white. As we grow up, we see there are lots of grays, and the petals in this painting depict, the petals are very delicate, and we feel lots of time very frail, and we don't feel all the time that we are in control. So that's the inspiration behind that. We need to learn from the nature, and we have to bloom in whatever condition we are put. So that's a message behind it. And we should try to strive and thrive in whatever condition we are. So painting is again on a canvas with the petals made of the polymer clay, and then it's finished with epoxy resin. The third painting is in sync. So like life, sometimes we can't see light at the end of the tunnel, especially in lockdown. We all have felt that sometimes in life, some periods of time we have felt really bad. So this painting is a vivid and deeper color. So it's a third stage of our life. And it teaches us that in storm, we need to swim together like a school of fish. And now that the vaccine is out and it's giving us a hope, so we have our inner peace. We need to go all together and flow in the same direction with the light just to survive. Thank you.
That's lovely. Thank you very much, Anita. So I hear what you say about the lockdown as well. I think a lot of people do. So let's go over to our first judge. I'm afraid we're going to have to try and keep it brief if we can, judges. Richard, what are your thoughts?
Anita, thank you. I really love that three-dimensional quality of your work and the way that you bring another dimension, another layer in through that. I'm not certain, but this is something about me. The intense kind of very kind of specific reading of the works. I don't think the works, I don't think works like this actually have that reading. It's you're reading into it. I'm not seeing that, and I think it's always a danger. We think work